So today we are going to discuss about legumes. You know, this is very important food item specifically for vegetarian people because it contains high amount of protein, specifically regarding essential amino acids are present except sulfur containing amino acids. And you know, protein is very much required for growth and development of specifically children, as well as maintenance of all the uh, growth development and the maintenance of our physical requirement, because most of the hormones, enzymes, everything in our body is proteinaceous in nature, and legume serves a good amount of protein in our diet. Legumes are one of the important food crop for human as well as for other animals, because it contains high amount of protein and low in fat. Exceptional case is soya bean and the groundnut, which contains high amount of fat also along with protein. Legumes also contain important micronutrients like folic acid, iron, magnesium, and potassium. Food additives like gums, including gum arabic, guar gum, and tragacanth gum, are derived from legumes only, which are used for thickeners. Soybean derivatives, for example, soybean lecithin, are also used extensively in processed foods, which is naturally derived from soybean, one of the important legume crop. This legume crop is not only essential for our life, day to day, for our physical need, but they are also essential for healthy ecosystems and agriculture because of ability of rhizobium culture, which is available in nodules of pulse crops roots, because they are capable of fixing environmental gaseous nitrogen into ammonia or ammonium ion form, which is further utilized by the plants. So this nitrogen fixation is accomplished through a symbiotic relationship between the legume plant and special bacteria that is known as rhizobium culture, which live in nodules on the roots of the plant. They convert atmospheric nitrogen into a form that is usable by other plants. Legumes complement cereals and make an ideal combination to provide protein quality matching that of animal products. Why animal products are important from protein point of view? Because they provide themselves all the essential amino acids, including valine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, tryptophan, and threonine. Whereas I have already told you that legumes have limiting amino acid of sulfur containing amino acids, specifically cysteine and methionine. But cereal crops are having good amount of these sulfur containing amino acids, but they are lacking in lysine. So if a combination of cereal and pulses are taken at a time, then both of them complement each other and will provide complete range of these essential amino acids, which is important for utilization of protein taken through the diet and for anabolic reactions in the body. Legumes contain major portion of lysine in the vegetarian diet, which is lacking in cereals. So it complements cereal foods also. Legumes contain fairly good sources of vitamins also, including thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, and also much needed iron. But this is poor source of calcium and specifically sulfur containing amino acids, that is cysteine and methionine. Legumes are classified in the family Fabaceae, which can be further divided into three subfamilies, including Faboideae, Mimosoideae, and Caesalpinioideae. The subfamilies are based on the form of the flowers of legume crops, specifically the petal shape of the flower. Now let us discuss about structure of legume grains. More or less, they resemble in the structure, but differ significantly in size, shape, color, and thickness of the seed coat. Seeds of legumes have two major parts, that is seed coat and kernel. Kernel is containing embryo as well as cotyledons, and embryo has again two major important parts as hypocotyl and plumule. On an average, pulses contain 11% seed coat, 2% embryo, and 87% of cotyledons. But there is variation in the amount of seed coat, as for example, pigeon pea, chickpea, black gram, green gram, and horse gram contain seed coat accounting for 12 to 15% of the total weight, whereas seed coat of lentils, French bean, kidney bean, pea, soya bean, and cowpea accounts for only 8 to 11% of the total weight. Embryo of the legume seed is rich in lysine, threonine, and tryptophan, but it contributes only 2% of their total quantity. Cotyledons account for 93% of lysine, threonine, and tryptophan of the whole seed, whereas obviously seed coat is the poorest source of these amino acids. Proteins of legume seeds are of two types, that is storage protein and structural proteins. Storage protein consists of 70 to 80% of total protein which occur within the cells in discrete protein bodies, whereas structural proteins consist of only 20 to 30% of the whole protein, which is responsible for cellular activities, including synthesis of structural as well as storage proteins. And as I have already told you that these legume proteins are deficient in sulfur-containing amino acids, that is methionine and cysteine. It contains carbohydrates mainly in the form of starch, in which appreciable amount of crude fiber, including cellulose and hemicellulose, is also there in the legume seeds. And 80 to 90% of the crude fiber is present in the seed coat of the grain. Now let us see chemical composition of the seeds. Naturally, this will vary and this will be governed by obviously cultivar, geographical location, and growth conditions. Mostly, on an average, it has been found to provide good amount of protein, carbohydrates, and oils, and also dietary fiber and minerals. Grain legumes can be termed as pulses as well as oil seeds. It will be called pulses, which contains lower amount of oil, that is ranging from 1 to 5%, and high amount of protein comparatively, that ranges from 20 to 30% on an average. Exceptional case is soya bean, which contains high amount of protein, that is around 43.2%, as well as high amount of fat, that is around 19.5%. And carbohydrate is 50% and more in overall pulses, whereas oil seeds have high amount of oil in the seeds, that is ranging from 30 to 50%, low protein comparative to this fat content, that is ranging from 20 to 30%. Soybean and groundnut are two most cultivated legumes of the world. Now, protein content of legume grains are classified into three basic groups. 70% of this part is present in the form of globulins, whereas albumin consists of 15% and glutenin 15% of total protein. These protein fractions include essential as well as non-essential amino acids. All legume proteins have less than optimal content of sulfur amino acids, cysteine and methionine, and also some tryptophan is deficient. Amino acid deficiency can be met by either consuming large amount of this legume or by mixture of different legumes. But high sulfur amino acids will be provided exclusively from cereals because most of the legumes are lacking in these sulfur containing amino acids. So the vegetarian diet must be complemented with cereal also when it is dependent on legumes. Cereals contain 7 to 14% protein, whereas legumes contain 20 to 40% of protein. See, in case of cereals, lysine is the first limiting essential amino acid, followed by tryptophan in maize and threonine in other cereals. So overall protein quality of cereal legume mixture is naturally better as compared to only cereal based or only legume based diet. Digestibility of legume proteins are poor because of presence of protease inhibitors, specifically trypsin inhibitor, which inhibits proper utilization of proteins in the small intestinal tract. Deficiency of sulfur amino acid, presence of polyphenols and other antimetabolites are also there, which interfere in proper digestibility of legume proteins. This can be improved through heat treatments, that is by cooking, autoclaving, roasting, etc. As these heat treatments will inactivate these anti-nutrient factors to a great extent. Even fermentation can be used to deactivate or inactivate these anti-nutritional factors. This is very important step because this less than optimal digestibility of legume be taken into consideration when one is attempting to meet nutritional requirements of humans with diets which are essentially legume-based diets. Legumes contain high protein content which ranges between 17 to 25%, specifically rich in globulins. Albumins are also present in a few species. Quality of legume proteins is lower than most other classes of proteins. Grain legumes are rich in protein, but their nutritive value is certainly limited because of limiting essential amino acid, that is methionine and cysteine. Low digestibility is another factor for poor nutritive value of legume proteins because of presence of lots of or varieties of anti-nutritional factors. Carbohydrate content of legume grains consists of almost 60%, in which starch is principal carbohydrate. It also contains different dietary fibers like cellulose, hemicellulose, etc. Minor amount of lower molecule weight carbohydrates such as sucrose and sucrosyl oligosaccharides are also present in legume seeds. Even oligosaccharides, namely raffinose, stachyose, and verbascose, are present in legumes, which is mainly associated with flatulence. And this is major hindrance in large-scale acceptance of legumes as foods in some community. Digestible energy coefficient in most legumes as well as mixed diets containing legumes ranges between 85 to 90% of the gross energy of the dry legume seed, whereas metabolizable energy values ranges between 75 to 85% for legumes. Soybean contains a considerable amount of carbohydrate such as galactans, pentoses, and hemicellulose. Hemicellulose being dietary fiber is naturally poorly utilized by gastrointestinal tract. Legumes are good sources of dietary fibers. It has been observed that low dietary fiber intake in daily diet by human being uh, results in increased incidence of cancer of the colon and rectum, diverticular diseases, coronary heart disease, diabetes, and gallstone in affluent society of the West because they are consuming less amount of dietary fiber and more of refined foods are consumed by them. Concentrated source of dietary fiber from soybean is obtained by processing dehulled and defatted soya flakes, which provides around 65 to 75% of the dietary fiber. It has been observed that only 13 gram of soya fiber provides 10 gram of dietary fiber in food, whereas it takes 23 gram of wheat bran or 58 grams of oat bran or 502 gram of apple and 735 gram of lettuce to provide 10 gram of dietary fiber. Physiological benefits of soya fiber and other dietary fiber sources include increased fecal bulk and its moisture. Even reduced plasma cholesterol has been observed in persons taking good amount of dietary fiber. Positive influence on blood glucose and insulin concentration has also been observed in persons consuming good amount of dietary fiber. Hypocholesterolemic effect is attributed to dietary fiber, including high content of cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin, gums, and galactans. Dietary fiber absorbs bile salt. Basically, if you see its action, bile salt is essential for properly digestion of lipids in the body in gastrointestinal tract. But dietary fiber absorbs this bile acid, so limiting proper utilization of lipids. Thereby, this quality of dietary fiber leads to its hypocholesterolemic effect and even in lower cases of ischemic heart disease. It prevents from ischemic heart disease uh, mm, to be, rather it prevents occurrence of ischemic heart disease in person. Regarding fat, fat content of legumes is limited. Uh, um, Exceptional case is soybean and groundnut, which contains higher amount of fat. Otherwise, in general, legumes contain lower amount of fat. But whatever fat is present in legumes that are rich in essential fatty acids, that is linoleic acid and linolenic acids. They are also good source of other nutrients like provitamin A. It provides on an average 50 to 300 international unit of vitamin A per 100 gram of legumes. Fresh legumes have been observed to provide more vitamin A as compared to dry legumes. Hamine content on an average ranges between 0.3 and 1 milligram per 100 gram. Riboflavin ranges from 0.1 to 0.4 mg per 100 gram. Niacin content is almost about 2 milligram per 100 gram on an average. These legumes also provide good amount of folic acid, but dry legumes are obviously devoid of ascorbic acid. Undecorticated legumes provide vitamin A, which is in larger amount as compared to whole cereals. They also provide considerably rich source of uh, calcium, higher amount of calcium, that is 100 mg per 100 gram of the legumes. But one important thing is that the presence of anti-nutrient factor, be it trypsin inhibitor or phytic acid present in legumes, because these affect the absorption and utilization of their calcium content also, along with protein content of the legumes available in the diet. They provide 2 to 10 mg per 100 gram of iron. We are talking about anti-nutritional factors. Most of the legumes contain varieties of anti-nutritional factors. They may contain one or more type of anti-nutritional factors like protease inhibitors, lectins, goitrogens, antivitamins and phytates, saponins, estrogens, flatulence factors, allergens, and lysinoalanine. Some other anti-nutritional factors, namely cyanogens, favism factors, lathyrism factors, amylase inhibitor, tannins, aflatoxins, and preservamines are also found in different legume grains. Although only a few legumes contain all these anti-nutritional factors, many contain one or only few of them. But important thing is that these anti-nutritional factors are mostly heat labile, so they can be destroyed by cooking, autoclaving, or fermentation, or even by germination. These chemical substances or anti-nutritional factors are certainly non-toxic for human beings, but generate adverse physiological responses and interfere with the utilization of different important nutrients, namely proteins and essential minerals, which is already available in the food. But because of presence of these anti-nutritional factors, these are not being utilized in the gastrointestinal tract. Now, heat stable compounds. Heat stable compounds like polyphenols and phytates are not easily removed by simple soaking and heating, so they can be reduced by germination or fermentation. One important thing exists with tannin is that though it is anti-nutrient and have adverse effect on protein digestibility, but this has also a positive one plus point, that they are acting as antioxidants, and these antioxidant activity of tannins and their potential health benefits lead to prevention of cancer and cardiovascular diseases. For that, tannins are being utilized in the industries for preparation of many food products because of antioxidant activity of tannins. Dark colored legumes, for example, red kidney beans, black gram, and soya bean have higher amount of these polyphenolic compounds, that is tannin. Now let us see about overall chemical composition of pulses and legumes. Here you can see that exceptional case is green pea, which is having maximum amount of moisture, that is around 73%, and all other nutrients are obviously in smaller quantity, except food fiber, which is at the level of 4% in green pea. Regarding proteins, obviously, you know, soybean is richest source of protein among all these legumes, which supplies 43.2% of the protein. Other legumes contain proteins ranging from 17.1 gram per 100 gram in whole Bengal gram to 28.2% in the Khesari dal. Regarding fat, soybean obviously provides largest amount of fats, that is at the level of 19.5%, whereas other legumes contain comparatively very less amount of fats ranging from 0.5 gram per 100 gram in whole horse gram to 5.6% in Bengal gram dal. Regarding carbohydrate, this ranges from 20.9% in soya bean to 60.9% provided by whole Bengal gram. Now, regarding crude fiber, this is in very little amount in lentil, that is only 0.7 gram per 100 gram, but in good amount in rather maximum amount to 5.3% in whole horse gram legume. Whereas mineral content of different legume varies from 2.1% in lentil to 4.6% in the soya bean. That is all about chemical composition of pulses and legumes. Thank you. Thank you very much.